I've been writing every day for more than a year now, and this is what I've learned from it. So, this all started around 1 year ago when I decided that I wanted to take my writing a little bit more seriously. I had been reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I wanted to create, writing a habit of writing. I'd also been reading other books that suggested that writing every day and also keeping track of my writing would help me boost my productivity and, make me become a better writer. So I decided to give it a try. And at the time, I was working full time. So, to be able to make sure that I had time for writing, I decided to wake up half an hour earlier each day and spend half an hour writing before getting ready for work. And this is something, if you want to write every day, this is something that I suggest that you do. Look at your calendar, look at your schedule, and see where you can fit in, slots of time for writing. Because I think a lot of us that want to be writers and that write, sometimes we may have a hard time prioritizing writing and letting it take up the space and time. But I mean, it is important to us and it makes us feel good in the long run. So why not prioritize it and make it a part of your everyday life? And, so the story that I was editing in the beginning was actually a story that I wrote NaNoWriMo 10 plus years ago. It was a fantasy story that I had penned, and it was one of those stories that I really loved. It was a darling for me. And after I edited the draft, I actually started writing book 2, and this was probably in April or something like that, March or April. And I noticed that getting up earlier and prioritizing writing actually, it boosted my mood, it boosted my overall health. I felt really good doing it. So I started getting up 1 hour earlier instead of just half an hour. And, I wrote every morning, but sometimes I also wrote, in the evenings and in the weekends. So it was not limited to the time that I had scheduled for writing, but the scheduling made sure that it actually got done. And also me keeping track of it in my Google Sheets spreadsheet. I write down which project I'm working on, if I'm, writing or editing or proofreading or whatever I'm doing. I also track how long I've been writing and how many words I've gone through. So this is fun to look back at these statistics as well. But yeah, then I wrote book 2 in the series, and I think when I sent book 1 to a few smaller publishing houses. We don't use agents here in Sweden the same way that you do in the English speaking world, so yeah, it's a bit different here. But then I started writing a feel good manuscript, and also during this time, I joined writing groups, joined events and stuff like that, and I met someone who introduced me to a way of planning a story in a bit more structured way. So I actually planned, so the next manuscript that I wrote was a feel good manuscript, and that one I planned. So first I did the 7-point system with the different plot turns and stuff like that, and after that I looked at the character development. So I did a character arc for the main character, I planned my subplots, and after that I sat down and did a chapter outline for the entire book. And this is something I had not done before, but I wanted to try and challenge myself to write this feel-good manuscript fairly fast. So to be able to do that, I needed a plan because otherwise, it would take too much time editing. And I learned so much from outlining and working more strategically with my manuscript. That manuscript, yeah, I think it turned out really, really great. And I learned a lot from the process as well. And the fantasy stories, the 2 fantasy stories that I'd worked on, that I pantsed my way through, I realized that they weren't good enough because I had not planned, and I wanted that to become big, like epic fantasy series. And if you want to write a fantasy series with containing more, that's containing 5 books, then you need to have a plan, because some of the things that's gonna happen in book book 5, I need to plant the seeds in book 1. Otherwise, it will fall flat and it won't be as interesting. It won't have that suspense that it needs to have. So I did something crazy and I deleted those 2 books. And this was around the summer during my vacation. And I also decided to take some time off work to study writing for a year and focus only on my writing for a year. I'm so thankful that my job, supports my dream. They're amazing. But when I did this during the summer, I actually planned out the entire fantasy series, so all 5 books with the overarching storyline and storyline per book. I've planned the different character arcs for the main characters and for the sub characters. And now, like when I have the overview of all of the books, I can do a lot of fun things. And I've actually written like the written book 1 and book 2 of that series as well. The book 2 is still only a first draft, but book 1 is written. I've edited it and I sent it to my editor. So I just got the comments back from my editor and the feedback. So I'm going to rewrite it now to make it even better before I send it off to an agent or publishers. We will see, but I'm super excited. And during this time, I've also written a nonfiction, started another fancy project. So writing every day it changed my life. Like now I started out writing 30 minutes a day, and now I write somewhere between 2 hours and I think, 6 hours is the most I've written. But at the moment, I write around 4 hours a day, and I don't only focus on one project. I usually switch between 2 projects. So I write for 2 hours, then I take a walk or do something to just reset my head, and then I will work on the other project. And it can be like a fantasy project and a nonfiction, so they're very different, and that works really well for me because then it's almost like different parts of my brain working. But yeah, so now I've talked about what I've done, but what did I learn from this experience? So the first thing that I learned is the importance of time blocking. Like if you're thinking about writing every day or doing something continuously to improve, then block your calendar. Make sure that it takes up space and time in your calendar, because if you do that, then it's a lot easier to just, it says in your calendar that you're going to sit down and write. So go and sit down and write. It's easier to do it. And also so let's say that you write in the afternoons or in the evenings, then if something shows up that you have to do, don't just, delete the writing time, move it to another part of the day. I've done this multiple times because sometimes I don't have time to write in the morning, but usually I show up and I write at somewhere around 6 or 7 o'clock, it depends. But I write every day at the same time. And by doing this, I also, my brain switches over to writing mode as soon as I sit down because it knows what's going to happen. This has also, made sure, since I also now plan all my stories, I don't get writer's block and I know what I'm going to write next. And if it's a scene that I feel like, oh, I'm not in the mood to write romance this morning because I had a really bad night's sleep or something, then I'll just, move on and write the next scene. It's fine. And it saves a lot of time, a lot of effort. And writing every day has, it makes me feel more like a writer, which is awesome because, getting imposter syndrome is tough on you. And this way I don't get imposter syndrome. I just sit down and write it. That's what writers do, And so this habit of writing every day has also, like, good habits feed other good habits. At least it does for me. So to be able to write every day, I've noticed that if I do meditation and write morning pages before I sit down and write, my head is clear, it's reset, it's good to go. But also, now that I write 4 hours a day, then I need to like go for a walk or do some exercising, or because that is a way for my head to clear up and for me to, I guess, let go of the story. So that, because writing is tough on the brain, it's a lot of work. So yeah, and I also love, living with my stories. That way I always get new ideas, and even when I'm not thinking about the story, my brain, I guess, is still working on it. So yeah, that is awesome. And being this access like into the writing zone has enabled, you know, I look for opportunities to hang out with other writers. So during NaNoWriMo, I went to the networking events, and you know, I made some writing friends that I now see every week. And we sit down and write, we give feedback to each other's manuscripts and cheer each other on. And that is something that has helped a lot. It's amazing to be able to surround myself with more writers. I really, really love it. And yeah, I mean, if I knew how amazing it would feel to write every day, I would have started a lot sooner. But yeah, I definitely recommend that you do it. This is one of the most amazing things I've done for myself, just to invest some time to do the thing I want to do. And you don't have to write hours and hours at end. Start by writing 5 minutes a day, because that way you will be in the story continuously and you will be more productive over time. Because like that way, by taking one step in the direction that you want to go, that is how you get there in the end. And another thing is that you don't need huge chunks of time to write, you know. Some people think that, oh, but I need 4 hours if I'm going to sit down and write. No, you don't. Use 5 minutes in, you know, during your lunch break, or and dictate your book while walking. I did this the other day. I went out for a walk and I actually dictated half a chapter in the story I'm working on. It was, you know, it's a learning curve. It's a little bit hard in the beginning when dictating, but it was also amazing because I felt I needed to move, because I sit down a lot when I'm working from home. So yeah. But all in all, writing every day has been amazing, and I am going to continue doing this for a long time. Not gonna stop, and I will make another video with learnings a year from now. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!